Good morning, everybody. PTSDog here. I want to discuss something real quick. I'm going to try to keep it under 5 minutes. But a lot of people are acknowledging that there is a problem with fake service dogs, and one of the solutions that they keep suggesting is a federal service dog registry. I sincerely oppose the idea of a federal service dog registry, and let me tell you why. I'll start to explain by asking you a question. Since when did more government regulation fix anything? You want a federal service dog registry? Imagine the DMV, but for dogs. That's why this is a bad idea. But I'll break it down for you. More regulation and a registry means that somebody has to prove that service dogs are trained and are service dogs. So who's going to provide the tests? Who's going to administer the testing? And if they're administering the testing, then who's going to draw the line and say this is what behaviors are or are not acceptable? Now, a lot of people are arguing, well, it should be an ADI certified training organization. Here's why I don't agree. First of all, ADI is a foreign company. The IRS recognizes it as a foreign company, not a U.S. company. They do not pay taxes in the United States. Now, why would we have a foreign company involved in regulation in the United States? I don't think that's a good idea. Second of all, if you've had a chance to glance over ADI requirements for certification of a service dog, they don't allow for dogs to be dogs in any way. If a dog slips once, as according to ADI, they're gone. They're done. You scratch them. They're no longer a service dog. Now, I've spent 6 years working with my dog. I work with him every day, and I can tell you from personal experience, as well behaved as he is, as fantastic as he is, he has bad days. Dogs have bad days just like people do, and they're going to have accidents and things are going to happen. You know, some dogs, as hard as you train them, when they see a squirrel, they're going to try to go after the squirrel. The key to the way that the ADA is worded is that the dog must be under the handler's control at all times. And if the dog is not under the handler's control, the handler is taking appropriate actions to regain control. That means handling a dog is a verb. You can't just train a dog, it's plug and play, away you go, and it never has any problems. That's not realistic. But that's the kind of standard ADI is requiring. It's just not realistic, and the only way you can get that kind of behavior from a dog is using aversive training, meaning punishment, choke and pinch collars, shock collars. I strongly disagree with using those. So that's one reason. Another reason is, again, if you are going to have a federal registration, then you're going to have to have a standard. Personally, I like the AKC standards for canine good citizenship. Those work very well. Then you're going to have somebody to administer tests to see if service dogs are actually service dogs. That's a tough one because that means you have to form an administration to administer those tests. Well, the Department of Justice has a disability rights branch. Okay, so we're going to have lawyers administer the test? Okay, where? Where are they going to administer the test? You're talking about bringing potentially hundreds of dogs a week into some facility to perform some kinds of tests. And then what are those tests going to be? What is the standard exactly, especially for psychological service dogs? Because every single handler is unique and different. Their conditions are unique and different. Their disabilities are unique and different. Not only that, but every single dog is unique and different. And how each handler uses their dog is unique and different. So what's the standard to register a service dog? Not only that, but you're going to have testing centers, facilities where these people who have yet to be hired are going to administer the tests. How do disabled people get there? At whose expense do they have to get there to go to register their service dog? And if they have to travel, let's say, you're going to set a testing center in every city? Well, there are towns where there are no people who use service dogs. There are cities where, hundreds or maybe even thousands of people use service dogs. So what's going to determine where the testing centers are? Obviously, it would probably gravitate towards larger cities. So say in the state I'm in, Oregon, they would put a testing center in Salem, the state capital, one in Portland, because this is the largest city in the state, and probably one in Eugene. So if you live on the east side of the state, you have to travel no less than a 4 or 5 hour drive to get to one of those three cities to test your dog. Then you have to go into the facility, sign up, register, whatever you have to do to take the test. So you're looking at an overnight trip for a disabled person who's living on a fixed income and can't necessarily afford to stay in a hotel room in Portland, say, overnight because they have to show up for a government-mandated test to register their service dog. It's not realistic. And then, what if a dog does fail the test? Let's say I do the service dog test with my dog and he's having a bad day and he gets distracted for a few seconds. Where's the standard? Where's the line drawn in how I get his attention back and get him refocused on doing his job? And then, what if the tasks I've trained my dog to do are different than the task another person trained their dog to do? Who makes the rules and determines what are acceptable tasks and what are not? A federal registry for service dogs is a bad idea. And it goes along the lines the same with things like gun laws. We need to enforce the laws that we have in place rather than trying to make new laws to re-legislate and make things more difficult, especially more difficult for disabled people. Instead, we need to have a standard of enforcement. And one of the biggest places we can enforce legitimate service dogs versus fake service dogs in public is by policing ourselves. The people who have fake service dogs know that what they're doing is wrong. They know their dogs are not legitimate. So what do? Come up with a plan to tactfully but firmly challenge them. Don't attack them, but simply ask the two questions aloud. Is that a service dog trained to help alleviate a disability? And what tasks is it trained to perform? I can guarantee you, every person with a fake service dog who you walk up to will start stammering. They'll say, yes, it's a service dog immediately. But when you say, what tasks are is it trained to perform? He makes me feel better. Well, that's not a legitimate task. That qualifies your dog as a emotional support animal, but not a service dog. Also, remember, you must be disabled. You must have been determined to be disabled by a medical doctor or a psychiatrist in order to use a service dog. So if these people who are bringing fake service dogs in, they're faking disability. And that's just wrong. We have the right as American citizens to challenge people who are taking advantage of the system unfairly. More laws will not fix this. Adhering to the laws, knowing the laws, education is what will fix the fake service dog problem. I do not believe in a service dog registry, a national service dog registry. I do not support a national service dog registry. I never will, and I will be a voice against the idea in the book and in public. That's all I have for you today. Thank you very much. PTSDog out.